the technical support. So if you just wanna accept that new invite, Oscar.
I'm on the meeting line. What are you
Hold
on?
on. Oscar, you there?
Yeah.
I can't hear.
Can you hear me now?
I
mean to the phone. Can you hear me to the phone?
What are you using?
You can hear me? I can't hear you. Stan, can you hear Oscar? No, can you hear Oscar though? Oh,
It's because I'm not using that. I'm using the WebEx call-in.
oh, now okay. Well, we moved into the computer or headset then. You didn't tell me you found a headset.
I've had one, but there's a computer login for the WebEx when you do training.
What do you mean? I'll try. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
So you can hear me, right?
All right. Well, most of you have been using the system handbook for a while now, so we're just going to try to breeze through the slides here, the first few ones at least. And again, as a recap, there's a few tabs linked here where you have your current Sun systems, your former StorageTek products, and for most of our contract basis, the EOL or end of life systems. And then some breakdowns of actual components listing, some general info, additional just trivia information about the Sun systems, and our also friendly knowledge-based search. I'm sorry, it's search link or search field, want to call it, or part numbers. Easier
why
to search
why
for.
would you ever have to use that if you just went into you chose a specific system and then that shows you all the parts anyway, right?
Yeah, you can go different ways into the page you want to go to, either to the search, the search link or search field, or the actual drilling down to each of the systems right here.
Okay.
This one, yeah. I mean, you guys should be using these by now. This is where you get your manuals, links to manuals, and see how you got helpful links here too about known problems and resolutions. Some known how-to troubleshooting links. So I mean, just when got some time to read up on those known information, known issues, and resolutions. Some hardware specs. And some more quick facts over here. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on these, but you should be using these by now. And Oscar, you've probably seen this once or twice before, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Like we went through these slides with Jacob. All right. So that's the what I call the portal for each of the server. Each equipment would have something like this. All right, and a link to their own information. That's why I call the home like a home page for each of the server or a portal. Just some more pictures. You can zoom in and out of the pictures. Easier for us to tack without an actual physical hardware with us here when we try to tack calls. All right, and then you have different view. Oh, I just somebody just joined IM with a huge big picture of himself. That's Neil Hoppy. You probably see those too. All right, and here's your components breakdowns on the left side. So should be user friendly. Just a few more links in the bottom here, which you probably don't use a lot, are wiring diagrams and exploded view. This had helped me before, especially the wiring diagrams. Helped me trace out interconnections between boards. You know, if you had to try to look for a problem between interconnected boards, and the wiring diagram links is pretty helpful. Let me know if you got questions so far, if you've run into some issues accessing the system handbook. All right, with your previous experience, just feel free to just jump in if you have any questions. This slide, I just want to stress, well, there are some part numbers that have things, column like that's called previous part number, so which could help you tell if a part number is interchangeable with another. Like in this case, somebody asked, "Hey, Deegan, it's a 501-7386." Mostly purchasing. Is it compatible with the ones being ordered, which is 501-62109? It's it'll be easy to tell, yeah, because I mean, like this one is I'm sorry, this one, the 6109 is just the previous part number of the newer part here. Fortunately, they got rid of the old column that said that said alternate part numbers. There used to be a column that they had for alternate part numbers. But I guess Jacob's rule of thumb here is that the newer part numbers, if you have to choose among many, just choose the newest part number, which obviously should be a better revision, hardware revision. Hopefully some old bugs have been fixed in the newer parts. And you
hey, Deegan?
Yeah.
You see right in the middle of the page where it says that 8 gigabyte?
Yeah.
And then it shows right there. It shows two numbers, and one says an assembly. What's the difference between those two numbers?
Well, here's we should click on these links. I'd have to get into the actual 1280 page, but
yeah,
so you can tell from these are 2 gig DIMMs, right?
Right.
And then here's the fruit part number that you order, the ones with a F in it.
Yeah, that's the one you should use, right?
Yeah, it's still replaceable unit, and you can click on the link and find out why we got those two, which let me do right now.
Isn't that lower number the individual part number for the single 2 gigabyte stick, and then the 8 gigabyte is the 4 sticks at that other part number?
Well, the 8 gigabyte is this option number right here.
4 by 2 gigabyte DIMMs?
Yeah, that's 4 by 2. This one here, the 87058.
Oh, okay, right. That would be the ordering option you'd use. Okay, I get it. I was thinking that part number 540-6489 is a part number for 4 2 gigabyte sticks, and then the 501 part number is just an individual 2 gig?
We could drill on it and we'll find out why there's two numbers here, but if you look at this line here, the 6489 goes straight to this description, which is 1 DIMM, a 2 gigabyte DIMM. So this tells you that this is just 1 2 gigabyte DIMM.
Oh, right, I see, okay.
Let me share my browser here so we can look at this 1280, right? Matter of fact, it's just Mark is just working on a similar 2900. Hold on, let me log in and share this. Should start seeing my actual browser.
There we go.
Yep, it's there. I see you logging in.
Okay. So we're back in the end of life B1280. Find the B1280. Look at that. So you could go to that page any which way you want to. Like you got full components listing here, or you can click on any of the links here, and here's your side pane, and click on memory. Right, that's DIMM 6489. Some systems or some parts that are used in different kinds of systems you see an additional layer like this one here.
Compatibility, okay.
To go to the server that you need that you're working on, like this 1280 that we were working on. All right, so right here, I think it's these two numbers, right? 6242, and this is part of the next slide here, actually. If you go back here, what I want to say in the next slide really is look at the notes for rules, compatibilities, and things like these, right? And that's the same page where I wanted to with link here. See, I clicked on that link for the memory, and you're gonna start seeing all these additional information, like even a little diagram of the DIM, banking numbers, this socket numbers, which are normally your DIM location, hardware location codes. These J numbers are actually etched on the boards, on the PCBs, on memory boards or system boards. So this is the very confirmed location codes.
Oh yeah, I see it right here on the processor.
A whole lot of information which as tech supports you want to go through these, and in here you see the two numbers we were trying to discuss earlier. Here's the 6242 2 gig, but for some reason it said to order the 540-6489 is the 2 gig proof, like what that flag earlier told us. The F, the F flag here tells you that this is what you want to order. This is the proof part number, and I'm pretty sure that's what's gonna be labeled on the actual DIM. Right here, 2 gig proof.
Ow!
And additional information, it says it's not supported on these two systems. Some notes below about 2 gig DIM. So normally you want to go through these when you order parts, just to make sure technicians will be following the rules. Like in this case, one of the first one says 4 DIMs of the same size for a bank, form a bank. And normally when I see that, I would just order 4 DIMs, identical DIMs. On the older systems, I don't know where the cutoff was. On the older systems, I didn't have any much problem mix and matching manufacturer, as long as they're supported per the system handbook. But lately, with the P series, the X series, the newer systems are being more sensitive with the manufacturer part numbers of DIMs. And that's when you're actually going to try to order a whole bank of 4 or a whole bank of 8 and replace all of them on site, just to make sure, because I've seen it where weird things happen, like a whole bank would disappear if you try to mix and match manufacturer. Even if they were the same Sun through part number, I've seen several cases of those, the same Sun through number, but the manufacturing part numbers were different, and even it was just different in the last 2 digits, like a dash AD versus a dash A0 would make a whole world of difference on site. Mostly on the newer systems like the P series, P5240s, X4600s, but I think on the older ones like the 1280, it's not going to be that sensitive, right? So in this case, I would still ask the tech to carry 4 DIMs, just so he's got spare. Anyway, just if needed, and plus they got a lot of spares in their stock anyway. Why not carry a 4 or 8, just so you've got backups. And here's some more rules. You're just gonna have to go through these notes every time you try to order a part, just to make sure we're all clear, the technician's all clear as far as trying to mix and match parts. All right. Any other questions with the system handbook? With your previous run-ins, trying to use the handbook, it should be easy to go through. You got all your different breakdowns here, disk drives.
Hey, Deegan, go to the disk real quick. I got a couple of questions there.
Yeah.
You see those the 2-second disk, the 146 gigabyte.
Yeah.
So that one highlight that first 540. Yeah, that one would be equivalent with the next group down, right? You could order either one of those.
Right. Well, this one's 10K.
Oh
The other
no,
one.
I missed that. Yeah, I see. But I've seen
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah,
sometimes there's several discs and they're all the same. I guess what I'm saying is
Here's another note. The way I usually tell, when the error codes, explorers, you'd see things like this. By now you
Right.
should, right? These are your SCSI inquiry labels
Right.
on the actual raw disks. So
Right.
all the types of disk drives are under that main through part number. So you could
Yeah,
actually
so
I mean,
if
you
you
could
order that through part number, you might get a Seagate, you might get a Fujitsu, you might get a Hitachi, right?
right, and that's what your orderable part number is anyway. It's the C crew number. Well, it's technically the crew or crew when
Right,
none of our
right.
customers replace it themselves for the most of the time. So yeah, this is what you're going to be ordering: either an F, which is a crew, or a C, which is a customer replaceable unit, the crew number.
Okay.
You usually go by these labels here, and then search. You can even use these, and this is what I do most of the time. Okay, that didn't come up, so I'm gonna try just for some reason that had space in it. So here's all the systems where you could find that that label
I see.
right here, right? So you're gonna order, it's a Fujitsu, but you want to order this number here.
Right. Okay.
So I mean that's easy way to get the disk drive is from the error code. If you see like an IO stat or the messages files, I mean wherever you're gonna see things like label names like this, usually with the Sun, a Sun name in there, Sun 72, Sun 73, Sun 72G, right?
Right.
Yep. So yeah, those are pretty useful. Those Sun SCSI inquiry string. Any other questions with the
Okay.
system handle? So this was just that. Read the note for each part number. This few slides is just talking about the knowledge base that's available with support.oracle.com. Same username and password. It just tells you which field you want to use. This is the quick search field right here, and you can either search just the system handbook right here, or you could drop it down and limit it by just documentation or system handbook. Normally, I use these for when trying to look for hits on error codes, actual error codes, the exact error codes that I see from the explorers. So I either use this and Google, or use both of them, because sometimes you won't see hits on here too. So that's where you use Google. So it's just like the Google for the support, the Oracle some systems. But take note, this is the Oracle support site, so it's gonna find you hits on their software too, their applications, like their databases. So if you wanna limit it down to just Sun, which you can do that on this side here. See all these hits here, you can click on and just limit it to a product category by like Sun Microsystems down here, or probably won't be going to the applications here in the near future, but yeah, that just tells you got an available knowledge base in the support.oracle website for searching for even videos. A lot of the videos are available here. You should probably do a quick sample. Let's get back to here. So if I just do a quick video, do a search for video, need to log back in. There it is. Here's that knowledge base field. You can drill, limit it down to these things here. Just do a quick video. I usually try to search for just on video maybe. And you see things like a video about sun patches, how to installation removal for V440s, which you can point out to the technicians too. The simpler, smaller servers are going to have, you know, information here, but obviously the bigger ones, the high end, and even the mid-range, I don't think would have much contributions to these videos. But I mean, they're there. We've actually got 22,000 hits, so a lot of videos that we can point our technicians to. How to replace a SunPower T2000 service processor battery. There's just a few calls on this one recently, right? So you just click on that and get some videos. On top of using the manual, the service manuals, which you can, by the way, also access through the system handbook portals. Related documentation is where you're going to find your admin manuals, your service manuals. So pretty much those are the two sites that I use for supporting Sun, you know, in addition to Google. But obviously I use these two first, the system handbook and the Oracle support site, the knowledge base. Right. Even got some text in addition to the video. Here's that set date that you have to do after replacing that point battery. All right, so a wealth of knowledge in this support site, and obviously the system handbook. Just I'll wait for that video to come up. Questions? We start going into the serial interfaces. Eric probably remember this picture. I got this from his email. These two here. Alrighty. Let's go to the types of interfaces that the technicians can use on site. Trying to get to the logs and trying to troubleshoot the system. We're going to start off with a serial interface. It is the simplest connection to a server. Simplest because it's on board, it's native to the actual server. Most of the older systems would have, I mean not most, all of them would have what we call the TTYA, or the serial letter A. There's an A or a B on the older systems. The serial A is by default where all those console logs are gonna come out of. That's where or technicians will plug in their laptop.
Hi, I'm Chris Berenger. I'm a senior field service engineer for Oracle. We're here to talk today about the SunPower T2000. One of the first things that you want to do when servicing the T2000 is you want to verify the serial number so that you can verify that the case is open under the correct.
But it's a whole length video, so point the technicians to these videos for additional training. All right, so let's just go back to the PowerPoint. It's supported on all, I would say, take this with a grain of salt, because some of the newer systems only have access to the system controller ports and not the A port anymore. So it's case to case. Obviously, you can always look at the system handbook, look at the rear view, just to check what ports are available to you, to the technician, and trying to log in, right? So everybody should know about these RJ45 to DB9 serial converter, right? We should have, each one of us should have one these, and just had a picture of an old Y cable that had both the DB9 and DB25 heads in there. Because take note that some of the older servers that we still service, like the E6500, 4500, would have a 25 port, a DB25 port serial interface instead of the RJ45 on the newer ones. Or I haven't seen. I don't think there's a DB9 version of the TTYA for the Sun. It's always been DB25 in the old servers, or the LOM or SE ports are now using RJ45. All right. So keep those handy in your toolbox. Like Stan, you go out to some of these calls, so you might need some of these mix of adapters and cables for connecting to the Sun. I will be emailing you. Here's a link that Jacob had included here for some serial information, pinouts and stuff. If you want to create your own cable. For terminal emulators, preferred version is PuTTY. I just started putting a MOBA Xterm there, which Jacob just recently emailed to us, pulling the field. So, which actually helps me a lot in trying to do some Linux-based commands on my Windows PC. You know how with the Explorers, those Explorer files, once you've extracted them, the Windows command or feature, the find feature, the search feature won't be able to drill down into a lot of those files. So you won't be able to search for files that contain a particular keyword that you want to look for, right? So that's where that MOBA Xterm comes in. Really helpful. You can do a grep, GREP, in order to get through those files. But that's another topic. We can do some one-on-ones on that at a later time. But I will be including a few more files that I usually attach to this training, like the PuTTY, the terminal emulator doc, and a few more docs. So just watch out for that in a later email. Okay, for serial interface, this here, complete system power and minimal config. I think what Jacob is trying to tell here is you need the power turned on fully in order to get to the console. Because some of you may have heard before that on the newer systems where you have a system controller or a LOM or XSTF, however you want to call it, probably more popular called as DRAX in the Dell world, or ILO in the HP Intel world. It's just, they're just like their own little computers in there inside the big server. That's an independent computer or circuit of its own. Like they're gonna come on live and ready as soon as you plug in your power cords. Whereas like the system is gonna stay down until you turn the key switch on or send a command to turn it on. The system controllers are gonna come on right away, ready for you to log in so that you can start looking at logs from the server. All right. What Jacob was trying to say here is that you need, unlike with the SEs, the serial console needs full power, and you need a minimal configuration to be able to get that going. Like you need a minimal amount of CPUs and minimal amount of memory, so that you can start seeing console logs from the serial port. Unlike with systems, with system controllers, then even when the server is down, you can always log into the system controller in order to do some diagnostics. All right, that's the serial interface. And just to give you an example, we'll look at a like a V880.
That V880, that's an older machine, right?
Yeah, it's an older machine, right? So if you look at the rear view, zoom in, you can see here that this is that DV25 port here. That's where all your console is gonna come out of. So as a technician, you'd plug in your DV25 converter here, null modem, hook up your laptop, use PuTTY, and use the default settings even for IBM, the 9600 baud rate, 8 bits, no flow control, no non 9600 8 non 1 none. That's how I remember it.
Yeah.
So when you plug in what that slide was trying to say was that if you plug in your laptop here, even if since this guy is not it's not a system controller, it's a native direct console connection to the server. You need the whole server to power on before you can start seeing a power on self-test message come out of that port, right? But this V880 server, I believe, is one of those older servers where the first generation of system controllers had been designed with. Like in this case down here, you see a little optional card. It looks like, I mean, this actually should be the real ones would look like an RJ45 jack. So that on its own, I encircle this card here. It's a system controller. They call it the LOM or ALOM or SD. Once you plug in the power cords, that card is going to come alive. It's going to do its own post, its own self-test for its own little world, little server.
And that RJ45 right there, that's a serial or that's an Ethernet?
That's a serial. It is a serial. And SCs can range from just having a serial RJ45 connection to a combination of serial and an RJ45 Ethernet, which means that you can telnet an IP into it, or some of them have features where you can actually have a web server in there that that will give you a web interface into the system controller. So obviously, newer systems with newer features would have those available. But on this old system, all you got is a command line interface. All right. So those are the two distinct ways of connecting to servers. Your native TTYA, this one's actually labeled A/B, which means that on the V880 you can set this up to be TTYA or serial letter A, which is the default console port, or you can actually set it up to be a console B port, which is just an additional serial port for you if you want to have this system connect to another system. Try to use this system instead of a laptop. Use this V880 in order to tip in or serial into another Sun server, then you can set this up too like that. But that's a whole different discussion too. And just take note that on most systems, you may have just a serial direct connection to the actual server, or you may have a little card or a little connection right here, which is a system controller, a little computer of its own. That's how I call it, a little computer, and then you got the actual big server. I'm not sure if you're seeing my mouse here. Probably not, huh?
Yeah, I can see your mouse.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to, I don't have a marker or something, but yeah, this little card is a computer on its own. It's a little computer, which is independent of the big computer, the big server. So you can always plug into this guy even if the big server is down, just so you can run some diag or get some logs. Which is the same way that you could do with your Dell anyway. Your DRACs are your little computers in there. iDRAC are always alive even if the server was down. As a matter of fact, you can use these system controllers in order to turn the servers on and off, and to manage them. That's why they incorporated these Just like with the even with the P series IBM, you have your service processors that are always on, though limited, but obviously, I mean, you could always connect to those through the HMC, the ASMI, and even with your laptop. So all these manufacturers had pretty much had the same basic idea of having a system controller or a little computer available that's always running at all times, even if the big server was down, so that you can, use it for diagnostics and looking at logs. All right. Any questions on that? Serial interface versus a system with both a serial interface and a system controller. And you'd hear several names for system controllers, but they pretty much do the same thing, and some of them just have more features than the older ones. All right. Let's go back to slide here. You know about the VPN. Everybody should be able to VPN to our testbed here, right? If you want to play around like you, Stan, especially if you're far from us, you should be able to. You should be making use of these testbeds that we have available. At least you could, putty into serial controller, FLOMs, XSCS, and we got most of them available here. And we can do some one-on-ones on that if you need some more information how to log into our testbed. It's just that slide there. Okay. Next slide. This is just a sample of that PuTTY's terminal emulator. The technicians would use connect to either the serial port or the system controller. Our testbeds would have most of these sessions already pre-saved. Like, if you can connect to our M5000 XSCF, you can even connect to a NetApp PAS960 or an X4600 iLong with that prompt, or V240 is down right now. But we got a few options here when you start playing around with the testbeds. Here's just a sample output of a PuTTY session into the OK prompt, which is pretty much done with. It's done doing the power on self test, so it's at the OK prompt already. What I just want to remind you guys about this slide is don't forget to log your sessions right here. Click on logging, and you want to make sure you save the session, so you have a copy of everything that you did. You can always use it to backtrack or find and pretty much as a reference for when you do sessions on the system. Especially if you're a tech, you want to have proof of what you did and what you didn't do, or be able to backtrack. All right. Let's start going into some of the system controllers. The first generation were called RSCs. Like the E250 had them, the V880, which I just showed you earlier, had that remote system controller RSC card. Not really much of use because it's the first generation. Sometimes you're stuck with a card that has an old password. So I've shown a few guys here how to clear that password. You gotta boot it up to a Solaris and then run like an SC-ADM or an RSC-ADM utility in order to clear that password. So that's, some of those pros and cons of the earlier versions of the RSCs. Don't even, according to Jacob, don't even use it. It's just another, unfortunately, it was the first version, so it's got a lot of bugs. Might as well use the DB25 port, serial A port on the V880, which gets you straight into the console when you try to power on the system, do a power on self test. It's limited, and but it's still there. You can do some show logs on it if you want to, but it's very limited, unlike the newer SCs. But just want to let you know that they are there if for some reason that like a V880 is down and it doesn't come up at all, then we could log into the RSC card and see if there was any log of any previous error that happened to the actual V880 server before it went down. You know, I've never had to use it when tacking a call, so that goes to say we probably won't even use it. The next generation is what they call the lights out manager. People start, or other manufacturers, I guess, start calling their system controllers lights out, like ILO for the HP, lights out manager for Sun. They call it lights out because that system controller is always running, like what I mentioned, even if the lights are out on the big server, right? As long as yeah, but as long as you got the power cords connected and you should have life to a functional LOM card or SD card. There's just a few variations of the LOM, so it's just a matter of looking at the portal for each of the server. So you'll know what kind of LOM you're going to be dealing with, what kind of command sets you're going to have to know. I'm never ever going to be able to remember all those commands, especially that Sun didn't make it easy to, you know, because a different family or different generation of LOM could have, I mean, some commands that are different. So it's just a matter of going to the home page for each of the server and grabbing the, on top of the service manual, you have your LOM manuals, your SC manuals, sometimes they call it admin manuals. Those are where you're going to find the commands and information on how to connect to or properly use the LOMs of whatever versions. You got your LOMs, your advanced LOMs, your 4V, integrated LOMs. They're all LOMs of different families, I mean generations and families, so some of these would have more features than the others.
Deegan, before you leave this page, some of your calls that you and Jacob have been working, you'll show a bunch of command like show FRUs and show faults. Yeah. Which one of those is that related to?
Yeah, those would be on the SC right here, system controllers, because I believe we were handling a 6800 or 6900.
Oh.
So it's also a system controller. Again, it's hardware specific, so you gotta go through the. What I do is I try to gather the basic list of commands that I've used for a family, like for a 68 and a 69, or even a 4800. Anything that uses that same SC, I would have a set of commands.
Yeah. So those commands, you're not in Solaris, right? You're on a system controller through just a simple serial port.
Serial, yep. Serial, and some of the system controllers have a network port, which SAs can telnet into or GUI into. All right, but it is the system controller, that's that little computer. You're not even talking to the big server yet, the actual server, nor even Solaris. This is all down in the SC.
Okay.
Right, and this, like what I was telling you, if you have like a 6900, for example, like one of those bigger mid-range, look at here. They got a picture. It'll be in one of these ports here. This is the DB25 serial A or serial port. Normally on site you'd have either this connected, the serial port connected, or the RJ45 Ethernet port connected, where the SH would telnet into. You know, they're going to be able to get to the same interface, the same command sets, either through here or through there. Either serial through a concentrator, like in our case we use a Cyclade terminal or a console server. That's where you use your serial ports, and then your obviously Ethernet based interface would go through the LAN. And these are all interconnected to the system controller. That's why you see all these different cables there. But this is where a technician will plug in, either here or I believe this one's a service port here. The picture's not too good. But so when you talk to these guys, run those commands, you're not even talking to the actual server yet. You're just talking to a little system controller, which is actually, hold on, IM's giving me a bunch of, okay, right there, SE0 and SE1, right there. Here's a system controller and another system controller. Some of them, like what you're seeing here, would have redundancy on the system controller. The smaller ones obviously don't have redundancy. The bigger ones, like these mid-ranges have, mid-range servers have an SE0 system controller 0 down here and a system controller 1 up there, which is just sitting idle until the main one breaks. Then this guy takes over. All right. So, like, I mean, system controllers, some of them with more features than the others, but they're all system controllers. They're all, I don't know what you want to call them, DRACs or whatever. They're just system controllers. Little computers, what I call it. Some of them even have, like the 25K, have its own Solaris on it. You know, like a 25K would actually have, instead of a Linux firmware that runs on the system controller, like in this case, this system controllers here, that's a server running Solaris in there. It's got disk drives in there. So it just tells you how much it could range from a little card to a mid-sized card, or even onboard integrated lights out manager or embedded one into the blades, or whole new like complete modules like these. So just imagine that they're all system controllers. Some are more powerful than the others. Obviously, the bigger the servers get, the bigger the functionality they provide. So a lot of I mean, you could tell, like, if the prompt on those commands that I email out, if the prompts are different, other than you know how the Unix would have a hash, right? A hash or pound sign, where you normally know you're running a Unix-based system there, like a Linux or Solaris. But if you're seeing anything like an SC prompt or dash prompt, matter of fact, let's start jumping in our PuTTY, get some visual aids here. I'm gonna share this PuTTY session right here. So here's all our available servers, and here's all the different hash or prompts. Like the ILOM would have an arrow prompt. The SC0 on the 25K already has a hash prompt because it's running Solaris on it. It's obviously one of the more advanced system controllers. An XSCF, that's what Fujitsu called their system controllers, Extended System Control Facility. Just just different names. They all do the same thing. So if I load that, so there's the login. Don't mistake this for Solaris login. Just remember where you're trying to log into first. In this case, we're trying to log into the XSCF, the N5000. So see, and that's where you see the XSCF prompt. Don't even have a help here because it's got its own command sets.
So remind me where you're in the system controller board.
Right. Yeah, I'm in the system controller board on the M5000 on our test bed.
I see. Right now.
Then you can connect to an ILOM. You see how let you log into the default is change me or hold on. Sun, even in the old days, used change me as like one of their default passwords, but it never is universal for all the hardware. Change me or change me now. So see, the prompt here is different. It's like an arrow. You're connected to the ILOM system controller here on the T5240. So that's another prompt. Here's another prompt. As long as you don't see like a hash prompt, it normally hash prompt would tell you're in a Unix-based system, a Linux or a Solaris or even an AIX, right? If you see all these weird looking prompts, you want to think that you're in some other system, which is like in our case the system controller. Unfortunately, there's several due to the different releases of designs of system controllers. It has different. That one's disconnected right now. Different prompts, but let's go to a simpler one like the V440 is down right now. Let's try 2900. I think that's down right now. What they've been working on, there's been a few breakdowns going on here. And Stan, we're going to save a few servers for you to test and break down also. Anyway, yeah, just be aware that you could be in a system controller interface or versus the hash prompt or Solaris interface, which for the most part we shouldn't even be getting into because that's the system admin's world. I mean, that's their responsibility. You don't want to be screwing up the AIX or the Solaris, right? So those are the longs. That's another name for a system controller. I'll be emailing you these docs. But obviously, you can always grab the manual, the PDF, on a case-to-case basis. System controllers. This, I believe he was talking about the 6800. We're just going through from the older names, older families, to going down to the different generations, right? System controllers and with all these additional features. It says here provides a platform and a domain console. Just to help you imagine that part, we're gonna connect to another PuTTY session, our 6800, which is more advanced than most of these, although it's old. But as you can see here, I'm connected to the system controller, which is that generation, for our 6800. Slightly different case here where you have actually 4 or 5 options. You can get into the platform shell, which is the overall, like the bottom or root shell, or you can go to each of the domains. That's where when you start talking about domains, that's where partitioning, server partitioning comes into the picture. Like I could have 1, 2, 3, 4 different Solaris instances running in this one server. If you split up the resources to the 4 domains, because you could split up like on this case, like a 25K. See all these on a 25K, you have all these CPU memory boards right there, and all these different IOs. Remember, a server at a minimum would need CPUs, memories, and IO, which are for the most part, your PCI cards or PCIe cards, right? That's like a basic. Those are the basic components of a server. And when you start breaking all these resources down into different domains or different Solaris instances, and that's where you're gonna have to, or the SA would have to manage all those different domains, right? So just imagine we're getting bigger here, so we're adding more hardware, so you have to start partitioning them and splitting them up in order to manage them separately. Like this domain A, Solaris instance, may have a different SA. It probably got a different customer from Wells Fargo, like it would be their Utah division. Domain B would be another partition running another Solaris. It's probably the accounting department. So you could actually split all these split all these hardware resources into different consoles, different Solaris instances, or what they call domains in the Sun world. And when you start looking at system controllers that have these features, then you could actually manage, like if I type 0, I went into the platform shell. It's pretty much the root shell for the whole hardware. Versus, like if I console into this domain A or domain C, see how that prompt changed from SC, system controller, to C here. Tells you you're in domain C. And if you look at the commands available here, there's usually less hardware commands on the domain shell versus if I disconnect from this domain C shell, right, I'm going to exit out, jump back into the SC. Take note of that prompt again. It changed from C to SC, which tells me I'm back down in the platform shell. I'll run up help, and you'd see obviously more hardware commands available. And this is where I get all those show, when I email out and say, hey, tech, could you ask for the show CHS, the show board -B, the show, yada, yada, all those show commands, right? Those are the commands that I take from this system controllers. To answer that question from you, Stan, earlier. Yeah. Obviously, what was happening was in that one case, the SA was connecting to, if you notice, his prompt said small lowercase s, small lowercase c. So he was connecting to the backup system controller, which is almost useless. It's idle. It's not running the system. So that's why he's not getting all the outputs that I needed. So I wanted him to log into the main SC, and that capital S, capital C actually tells you that you are in the main SC platform, right? And that's where I wanted him to run all those commands, so we can get the part number and the show logs and all those helpful information to troubleshoot his system. All right. So we're still talking about system controllers here. Just this guy has more features than the other ones that we have. So it's just a matter of familiarizing yourself with all the different command sets for all these different system controller types. Unlike IBM was more, they had a better vision of just making their systems universal. If you log into an RS6000 ST service processor, it'll almost look the same as a P-Series 570. You type in the password, you have all those power on commands, but obviously the newer hardware will also have newer features, newer capabilities, like you could probably deconfigure a CPU here and there or memory here and there. But they had almost the same interface. Unlike with Sun, you have all these different designs like Arrow, Nexus CF, or this. And just FYI, the XSCF, like this one here, prompt is one of those. It's from one of those M series hardware, and this Arrow prompt here is from the P5240, right? These two were manufactured by Fujitsu. Since Sun, was purchased by Oracle, I think what happened was Oracle continued business with Fujitsu, and it's now Fujitsu that manufactures all the Sun systems. That's why you're going to see a Fujitsu version of the P5240, Fujitsu version of the M5000, and they're going to look almost the same. Obviously, just probably some of them have different firmware levels to accustomed to the manufacturers. But just take note, you may see a Fujitsu version of the M series or a P series. All right, so it's just a matter of grabbing the right admin manual, admin book. What I do for now is I just keep in my emails the essential commands that I use for a particular line. Like, you've probably seen all those emails that I do, so I don't have to.
Yeah. Do you have kind of a a little quick reference to when you send out those things?
Not right now. You should go back to my old emails. I haven't really put them in a doc, but
Yeah.
you know, I guess I was just lazy.
That'd be cool to have, just kind of a little cheat sheet where you just cut and paste different commands. But
Right.
you're just cutting and pasting them from other known calls previous, right? That you're familiar with.
What I did was just, pretty much learn from Jacob. Whatever he puts out there, I try to gather and make my own pieces that work for me. So each of you guys, may have your own thing.
Yeah. Well, we need to get to a point where we're familiar enough to be able to create our own cheat sheet.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So those are your system controllers. Go to the next slide. This is just more stuff that probably won't even use information about the XSCF, like that M series prompt that I was showing you guys earlier. So we were just going through the different families. These are Fujitsu manufactured hardware, starting from whenever you see XSCF or that arrow prompt, those are Fujitsu servers already. And these are all Jacob's additional, more features. It's just saying, this guy has all these other features versus the older system controllers. And it's always going to be case to case. You look at especially in our break fix world, I would go in, that was a current system. I would go to a particular portal like an M5000 and I try to figure out, hey, what kind of connection do I have here? I have an XSCFU. So I have an Ethernet-based XSCF Ethernet connection. This is serial actually. When you see IO, that's a serial RJ45, and that's the only port available to you, to the technician. I'm trying to gather all those XSCF. You've probably seen an email from me before that said, for M series hardware, please ask for these logs, either the snapshot, which is like the snap file in the AIX, or like your DSET in the Dell world. The snapshot is a collection of all the logs from the XSCF. Either ask the SA for that, or these few commands that I have listed in that email. Like show hard conf, show this, show that, show log. All right. So it's always going to be case to case until you start going, or until you work on a few of these or many of them. Then you're going to have to go through the portal every time and just familiarize yourself with what you're dealing with, and gives you a chance to grab the service manual. The admin manual. Like in this case, I would go through related documentation, and here's a listing of all the documents. Normally, you'd need two kinds of manuals: a service manual for the actual hardware replacement and troubleshooting information, and then you have, like in this one here, here's a service manual that I usually use for the M5000s. And let me see where we find the XSCF. It would be this here. No, that's product notes, You can use the admin guide or the XSCF users guide in order to get you your command set for that XSCF right here. Well, once you start playing around with these systems,
Deegan?
Yeah.
On this M series that you're looking at, that little RJ45 serial connection. So a customer would typically have a console just dedicated there.
Yes.
What would they typically be using?
Either let me see. In this case, you actually have two network-based connections right here.
Oh, so they might have a network-based connection, not necessarily a serial connection, right?
It's rare you'd have essays or data centers that would use the serial,
Yeah.
which means that they would have, have to route all those long cables. I mean, they would have the need for console, what they call them, concentrators, terminal concentrators, serial servers. Unlike here, when you got your LAN already ready and set up, and that's why they just use the Ethernet connection. But if you have to troubleshoot that XSCF, then you won't see the boot up sequence of this guy here when you're connected to the Ethernet. Just like a server, you know how when your server is, if you're not connected to a console, you won't be able to see most Unix, you won't be able to see the power on sequence. Unlike in serial, where you're hardwired into the console, the actual firmware, right? You're gonna see the Linux boot up of the system controller card. All right, so it's just a matter of playing around with it. Like in this little trick that I learned, XSCF, you do a tab. They came up with display all 150 possibility. It just lists all the possible commands. So it wasn't an easy help command for the XSCF. It was tab. Yeah, I'm not even sure if they put that in the manual. Or you can do a man. I think it's intro, and this lists all the commands possible, like manual for all the different commands available in the XSCF. So you just need to play around with them to get more familiar with them. That's the only way to learn. I didn't know all these up until I mean, honestly, until Jacob came in. Since we didn't do much of Sun before, I got rusted out. After almost more than 6-8 years not doing it, but had to play around a lot. That's why it's beneficial we had the test beds available to us even at home, so you can log into these and play around with them and when you get a chance. All right, so that's all the different system controller generations. Okay. You guys want to continue or you want to resume tomorrow? What time do you get off, Fan?
I'll hang on as long as you want. I'm off right now, but go ahead.
Oh, well, let's see. I think this is where we start. Well, yeah, that's where I started injecting some of the materials from Jacob from his old Essentials, FE Essentials classes back in Northrop Grumman. Let me see how much. It's probably not a lot here. Okay, well, I guess let's go through the, we'll play it by ear. Because we're starting with the boot process here on a SPARC system. When I said SPARC, there are non-SPARC Sun systems, like the X series. They run Opteron, Intel-based, x86 system, just like your Dell, which means that you can install either Solaris x86 version or Linux or Windows on those servers. But we're mostly gonna discuss SPARC-based systems here. This should be easy because it's just powering on. Most of the servers, you plug in the power cables and then toggle the key switch to on, right? I mean, that's basic stuff here. Like this picture is from 2900 to 1280. You got key switches here. And if you start looking at more of those Sun pictures in the system handbook, you're familiar with this key switch settings. You got an I for on, lock, that lock location, and the diag, that little heartbeat in there, right? Because some servers you gotta flip that switch and press the power button. On some of them, like a 1280 has this rocker switch. Now some servers like the T series, T5240, T5220, you can interact with the service processor or system controller. So don't be confused with the terms again. Service processor is also the system controller. All right. So you, like what I tell most of the technicians out there, when you're working on any system that's got a system controller, you want to plug in the power cords first. You want to hook up your laptop to the system controller and make sure that that system controller completes its own host, its own, self-test first before you start powering on the actual server. I don't know, it was just experience on me on my part playing around and trying to fix a few of these P series or even the X series. Sometimes they could be buggy if you start powering on the server right away, even before the system controller boots off. I would say that the graceful way to do it is plug in the AC cords, the power cords, and hook up your laptop. Gives you enough time. What was that? Just gives you enough time, to let that system controller boot up first before you turn on the actual server. We probably lost a few people already. We should have Stan here and Oscar still here. Stan? Oscar? You there?
I'm here.
Or Stan, you still there? I think we lost Stan. It's just you, Oscar?
Yep.
Let me check users, participants. Eric's still on. Oscar, Stan still Stan. He probably lost the phone connection. Yeah, I don't see him on the... Is that you again, Stan?
I was trying to multitask, but I inadvertently hung up my phone.
That's what I thought.
My brain.
Anyway, yeah, we'll probably go through a few more of these slides and then resume tomorrow since Stan's
okay.
Right. Yeah. So this is just that page on powering on the system. Some of them you have to. It's best to interact with the system controller. You let the system controller finish its boot up first, and then you log into it either through the GUI, if they have a GUI version. Flip the switch on through there, or the command line, do a power on or start/sys. Different command sets for different kinds of system controllers. Let's see, you probably don't need to, because you could easily look at just those pictures of the system handbook for, all the different ways of turning on a different Sun server.
Yeah.
Here's the command, power on is one command, set key switch. You're like virtually running turning a key switch by running that command, set key switch -D, which tells you you're turning on the key switch of domain A, right? You're setting the key switch of domain A into diagnostics. You're like virtually, if you have a key here, flipping it from the off to the diag, but doing it virtually through a command.
Yeah, what machine is that? I've never seen a key switch on a Sun machine. I guess they have them, right?
Yeah, like this one here.
Yeah.
This was from a V440. It's just
those are older machines though, right? They don't have them on the newer ones.
Some newer ones won't have a key switch. It'll probably be a little button there. Yeah, a little button.
Well, it's like the old like the old RS6000 machines. They used to have key switches, and then the newer machines don't.
Right. Yeah, same case.
Sort of like that.
Yep. So some of them there's still a little button, recess button that you can press on site, but most for the most part, the system admins are in India or somewhere else. Most of them manage it remotely now, and they use these commands here to the system controller. Yeah. So they to the system controller, and depending on the type, you could do these commands here, like start space / system. So it's just a matter of getting familiar with the command sets for the different kind of system controller you're going to be working on.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, these are just basic power on troubleshooting. Mostly for the field tech. You'd know these by now. Let's see, yeah, just basic stuff for Mutex. So I don't need to go through these. And what I wanted to remind you guys, just is especially when you're trying to break down systems here, which are systems of unknown state from the vendor. Unlike the break fix calls that we do, it could either be just one problem, one part, or just two parts you have to deal with. But if you have to break them down, the ones that come here in the office in pallets, they're unknown. So you wanna, and if they don't boot up, sometimes you gotta break them down into minimum configs, right? Just to see if you could run a post or boot the system up at a minimum config. That's just basic technician troubleshooting to me. But it's a good.
How often do you think that happens, Deegan, where you have to do that?
On site, not a whole lot, because it's normally one problem here, or one problem there.
Yeah.
That's why you'll want to always ask a customer, hey, did you upgrade anything? Did you add any hardware or any card? Right. Yeah, but I mean, there's still cases there where you actually have to go back to the minimum config, remove the PCI cards, remove additional CPUs, just to see if you can boot a system up at a minimum config, and then start adding hardware, right? Just to see how far you could get until you find a suspect component.
Yep.
So that's that. And you guys have worked on enough machines to know that already. So we could probably resume this tomorrow, the boot process. This might take a few more discussion here. So that would be it for now. And if you have any questions,
we'll pick up with this page tomorrow, right?
Right. All right.
Okay.
All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Hey, what time are we technically kicking this off? I just got a call for a local Wells Fargo, and they're thinking I'm going to go out there at around 10 or 11 in the morning.
Yeah,
you want to do it in the afternoon again?
Yeah, whenever both of you are available, pretty much. Or we're good.
Do you want to tentatively do it right after lunch again, sort of? Because I just got this call in for a Wells Fargo 666-519.
Well, we need to do that first. So after lunch, about 2 o'clock, 2:15 again.
Yeah, maybe we can do that.
Right.
Will that work?
That'll be perfect.
Okay, gentlemen.
Okay, thanks for the great support, Deegan. I've been grabbing screenshots and taking notes, and no doubt you have the PowerPoint that you can also send out, but I've just been trying to pay close attention. Thanks.
No problem. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, Oscar.
Yes, sir.
How you doing on that firmware project for the Goldman Sachs? Did Edward want to just walk away from it, or what? You saw my last emails, right?
I haven't heard from him yet.
But you got my last emails, right?
Yeah, I saw them. I'm still working on it, so I'm trying to get my
side
done.
It's
and
really
I'll leave it on his plate.
Yeah, really. The bottom line is it's not up to us to work on it. It's a known issue, and all really needs to be done is you just present it to the customer, and that's that. It's
right.
It's just a known fact. Anyway, okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right.
All right.
Okay, we'll see ya.